All right, so we're actually starting this one off with a fun little stat that I'm not sure how many people know. So this is I found this by a guy by the name of Graham Barfield on Twitter, and it was how many tight end routes were ran after the bye week in Week 12 by Minnesota, which is including the two playoff games. Um, Irv ran 143 routes and Rudolph 131. Now, I want to make this comparison, which is Owen Daniels, who spent 10 years as the main receiving threat at tight end in a Kubiak offense. He was drafted by Houston, followed him to Baltimore 2014, and then by 2015 he was in Denver with Kubiak. So just from a pure measurable standpoint, they're even super similar. Whoa. But Daniels ran a 4.65 40. Irv Smith 4.63. 20-yard, the 20-yard shuttle. 4.1 for Owen Daniels, a 4.33 for Irv Smith. The broad jump 114 for Daniels, 110 for Smith. The three cone is where I see the biggest difference. You have a 6.87 three cone for Daniels and a 7.32 for Irv Smith. Height 6'3 for Daniels, 6'2 for Smith, and then the weight is a difference between 245 and 242. So Daniels never actually had less than 41 targets in any of the years that he played, and that year he only played in 5 games. And he actually had seasons where he was targeted over 100 times in both 2008 with 101 and 2012 with 104. 2007 not being too far behind at 94. And it was given a lot of option and underneath routes to kind of win one-on-ones with the linebackers because we all know Kubiak loves to run that ball. And when he runs the ball, they stack the box. You get more one-on-ones with these backers. And Daniels became a 2-time Pro Bowl tight end, just accumulating, throughout his career, 479 receptions for a little bit over 5,600 yards and 36 scores. And just for perspective of how that kind of production can, go into just what we've had from Kyle Rudolph, if we just compare the career stats between Rudolph and Daniels in general, just because of this role, Rudolph has a career of 628 targets, 425 catches for 4,100 yards, 9.8 yards of reception for 238 first downs and 47 touchdowns, while Daniels was targeted 758 times, catching 479 for 5,600, 11.8 yards a catch, and 320 first downs and 36 scores. So what this should tell you is these more athletic tight ends are used a lot more in between the 20s than they are the red zone with Kyle Rudolph. So Rudolph actually still has a role on this team, despite the fact that Irv Smith's role could very well be this Owen Daniels role that can get a ton of targets. And that's kind of nice to have, but I see no reason why Irv Smith can't come into this. I don't know if we should expect 100 targets, because that's a lot, but I see no reason why he shouldn't be a main, weapon in this offense. There is no reason for it. He's a very similar player, and his elusiveness after the catch is actually much better than Owen Daniels has ever been, so you might even get, more yards with the run after catch, and I think he's overall also a better route runner, even though the three cones and things like that aren't as good. He implements a lot more head fakes, and you can see that at times. So it's kind of nice to see how he's able to kind of stack defenders and then head fake, stem, break, go, and kind of just leave people behind. I think we've seen that a few times. There was one route against the Raiders that was impeccable, and I think you could start using these things a little bit more often now. And it already looked like they were already transitioning to Irv Smith kind of being more of the receiving threat, by virtue of just having more, routes ran with that 143 to 131. So, and that's him being the second tight end. I think next year we're going to start seeing him be the first tight end, since I also think he's a better blocker, which I said when we drafted him. But that's not the point. But because he'll be more of a presence in between the 20s that Rudolph has never been, and that's always kind of been a problem with me, because it's like Rudolph gets paid a lot to do what he does, and what he does is he's a check down and a red zone guy. But I don't think that's worth $9 million a season. I just don't. Even though he is massive and that helps in the red zone, I just don't see where else, that helps too much. And especially for an offense where the tight end isn't, a tight end like him that can't get vertical up the field too quickly isn't going to be, as utilized, just because this is not what it is. It's more based off run after catch. As, some other ones we've had, it was kind of more we need that possession guy. I don't think this is that. And this system has proven to work in this way. And I think Irv Smith should kind of thrive in this role. And I'm really, really hoping we start to see a bigger transition from Rudolph to Irv Smith, even if Rudolph, because Rudolph's perfect stat line has never been, he needs 10 catches for 100 yards and like 2 scores or something. That's never been necessarily the perfect stat line for Kyle Rudolph, because more often than not, when that's the stat line, Minnesota's losing 24-14. So that's usually not good. A better stat line for Rudolph was actually way back in against Dallas, if you remember. I think he only had 2 or 3 catches that game for 14 yards, and he had the 2 scores. I think that's closer to what Rudolph needs to be, and we'll work things out later when money becomes a big predominant thing. But I would like to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Liking and subscribing, super helpful. And until next time, I bid y'all adieu.